Thank you, Drew Brees, for getting us started. Hello, everybody. Alongside Lindsey Rhodes, I'm Dan Helly. Questions are aplenty going into Week 14 of the Cowboys finally found their groove. Will the Eagles and Falcons rebound? We're going to have those answers on the way with Sean O'Hara and Reggie Wayne.
First, though, it was tough to watch. The last game of Week 13, which featured a number of uncomfortably violent moments, and certainly none more so than the one that led to Ryan Shazier's hospitalization in Cincinnati. According to a joint statement from his doctors, he has a spine injury. He is being treated by neurosurgery experts, and he is expected to remain in the hospital for another 24 to 48 hours. We're not getting a lot of details about his condition, but this is probably a good sign right here. Shazier tweeting just about a half hour ago, "Thank you for the prayers. Your support is uplifting to me and my family," and probably his teammates as well, who were no doubt shaken by what they saw.
Obviously, with him being back there in Cincinnati, I'm not getting all the reports right away, but I've heard some really encouraging things. A lot of things that, the Steelers put out reports and kind of updates, I know, from Kevin Colbert and some other people. So I'm kind of hearing the same thing, just some encouraging things, but not out of the woods. Obviously, continued prayers for him and his family, I think, are the best thing that he could get right now.
That was Ben Roethlisberger today before another one of his teammates, Juju Smith-Schuster, was suspended for a game for his actions on this hit. A hit that the Vice President of Football Operations, John Runyon, referred to as an unnecessary blindside shot with taunting afterward that fell, quote, far below the standards of sportsmanship expected of an NFL player. Also suspended, Bengals safety George Iloka, who, according to Runyon, violently struck a defenseless receiver in the head and neck area. As you see here, the receiver was Antonio Brown, who caught a touchdown on the play, but stayed down for a few seconds afterward. Both hits occurred on the same drive, about 4 minutes of football apart, in a game and rivalry that has become increasingly brutal, with 29 extracurricular penalties since 2015. That is 11 more than the next closest rivalry, the Rams and Niners out west. And if the on-field actions in this one weren't bad enough, there is this from the locker room after the game. The voice that you're going to hear off camera is Antonio Brown.
I mean, in a situation like that, when there's so much stuff going on, and I didn't know it was perfect at first. All I saw was, the first Bengals dude that was going to tackle Le'Veon. So in my instinct, I got a block from my teammate, and me just playing ball, I hit him. After I seen the replay, I think I should have held back a little bit more, and just, from blocking him.
And sure, I got straight cash on him.
I also believe that's not me. I should never stole him. I apologize for that. And
it's called karma.
With that being said,
it's called
I hope he gets better.
I believe that is what they call a mixed message there. Also, Exhibit A, that maybe the bad blood has gone a little bit too far, Mike Garafolo.
Yeah, well, you saw or you heard Antonio Brown there, and I am told that Burfict, when he was down, could hear Steelers players saying things along the lines of, "We got you," and "Stay down." So this rivalry framed this suspension here, and what you're seeing from the NFL, certainly in the case of Juju Smith-Schuster, who did not have previous incidents as far as dirty plays or illegal plays, is the NFL is starting to act faster on these things. One egregious hit will get it done. It used to be that you'd get fined, then you'd get fined a little more, then you'd get fined a little more, and finally after that, and those messages didn't get through, then you'd get suspended. Well, you're seeing it right now. I mean, George Iloka has had some hits in the past, but he's not necessarily known as a dirty player, and they got him too. Now, he's going to make the case that I was just trying to separate the receiver from the football there. He came down, I turned my head, we just happened to make a head-to-head collision. With Juju Smith-Schuster, you can't do that. You can't run parallel to the line of scrimmage and deliver a blow like that. So we shall see with these appeals that I'm told are going to be heard tonight, and the league will try and get an announcement here, the jointly appointed arbitrator. We shall see if these guys can get one of these suspensions or both overturned.
Well, the good news, we've got about a year to figure all of this out. These two teams not set to face each other again unless the Bengals can somehow find a way into the playoffs. And at 5-7, that is not looking likely. Back to our top story, and the one that I just could not stop thinking about last night. That was Ryan Shazier, hospitalized with a spine injury that left him motionless from the waist down on the field. He immediately grabbed his back. He was placed on a backboard. He was carted off the field, leaving behind very concerned teammates and coaches.
Man, Ryan's a trooper. Had an opportunity to spend some time with him, man. He's in really good spirits. Tough guy. He's got great support from family and loved ones there. It's painful to kind of get on that plane last night. But you know, that's life. We realize and understand that he's in really good hands and is getting expert medical care. And he also challenged us to move on with what it is that we need to move on, that he's with us as well.
Aditi Kinkhabwala with us. Now you've been monitoring this story closely. What is the latest that you can pass along?
Well, Lindsay, as you said, the Steelers have released a new statement today. There are not too many details, but there are some changes. One, they are officially calling that collision that leveled Shazier a spine injury. The other thing, there was hope that Shazier could return to Pittsburgh today. Now the Steelers are saying he'll undergo further tests and evaluation over the next day or two and hopefully become stable enough in that time to return here. But as you saw from Mike Tomlin, he was extremely emotional today. Further on in the day, he talked about the professional brotherhood on this team, how tight this team is. We've heard him say repeatedly he believes this team has something special, and he referred to that again. He said that often when there are unique outcomes on the football team, it's because of how close teammates and coaches with their players are. He said that's what you have here. And Lindsay, what we shouldn't lose sight of in all of this is that Ryan Shazier is really honestly the heartbeat of this team's defense. He is universally liked in this locker room, and he is also a player who always makes times for things outside of football. He suffers from alopecia. It's an autoimmune disease that has left him without hair. He will always make time for any young student who writes to him or asks him for his advice if they also are suffering from alopecia. This is a player that the Steelers feel very, very connected to, not just any teammate. And of course, here we're just waiting for further word.
Aditi Kinkhabwala live in Pittsburgh. Thank you very much, Aditi.
Here's a look at the remaining schedule for the Steelers, and it does not get any easier in weeks 14 and 15. Ravens and Patriots coming up next. Reggie Wayne, Sean O'Hara joining me here now. Steelers come back from 17 down to beat the Bengals. Now it's that brutal two-game stretch starting against Baltimore without your second-best wide receiver and without one of your best defensive players in Ryan Shazier. What do they need to do to tighten things up to make sure that they don't lose to the Ravens and the Patriots?
Well, first and foremost, this is a great rivalry. So the emotion that they're going to have to draw from on a short week, they're going to have to charge up their batteries pretty quickly. This matchup is always huge. When I played for the Browns, I used to get goosebumps when we played at the Steelers. They played this montage to lead up to the game. It's such a great battle area right there. So they're going to be fired up. But really, you just talked about coming from behind. The Steelers cannot, against Baltimore, expect to be down 17-0 and still rally in the fourth quarter. And I think it really leads to Ben's got to take care of the football. I think 3 interceptions in the last 2 games. I think he's got to be very careful about the pressure that Baltimore's going to apply. Baltimore's doing a great job leading the NFL in turnovers right now, but it's because of the pressure. It's not just up front. It's not just T. Sizzle going up against Alejandro Villanueva. They bring a lot of nickel blitzes, a lot of safety blitzes. Eric Weddle's around line of scrimmage. He's flying back, so that defense is going to be tough to handle.
It's funny you say that, and it is a great rivalry. But one thing about it, they know each other. It's a division opponent. The last 22 times these guys have played, they've split 11-11. But 16 of those games has been decided by 7 points or less. So they know what they're going to get. They know what they're going to get when they play Baltimore. They know what they're going to get when they play Cleveland. Also, when they play Cincinnati. But they're not worrying about that. They know that whoever has the ball last in this game is probably going to win it. They're worrying later on.
Might be a kicker.
Exactly. You never know. You never know. They're worrying later on when they play the New England Patriots.
You're still telling me they're thinking more about that game than they are this next game against the Ravens?
Oh, yeah. They know what they're going to get when they play the Ravens. They know it's no different than when we was playing in our division, the AFC South. We knew we was going to get. We played Tennessee, Texans, and Jacksonville. We knew what that game was going to be. But we had to worry about the New England Patriots. That was the hill we had to get over. That was our nemesis. We had to find a way to get over that hump. They're going to play it. It's going to be a slugfest. We know that. Those games are always tough games whenever they play each other. But they know in the back of their mind, the following week, the New England Patriots will be waiting, and they know to get to where they want to get to, you got to beat those guys.
I know this. Mike Tomlin will not let this team look through a divisional rival, but not having Jimmy Smith for Baltimore, that could be huge.
Oh, yeah.
Could end up being a big day for Antonio Brown.
Well, and on the defensive side of the ball for the Steelers, Ryan Shazier's not there. Joe Hayden, remember, still not there either.
Right.
He's targeting
Could end up being a big day for Antonio Brown.
Well, and on the defensive side of the ball for the Steelers, Ryan Shazier's not there. Joe Hayden, remember, still not there either.
Right.
He's targeting a comeback week 15, which would be against the Patriots. They're going to need him for sure. Thanks, fellas.
First game of Week 14 is just a couple of days away now, and it is a huge one in the NFC South. Saints coming off a win against the Panthers on Sunday, now prepping to face their other divisional challenger in Atlanta on a short week with a lot on the line. Jane Slater, how are they navigating this one there in Metairie?
Well, Lindsay, the goal for them is obviously getting the playoffs, and then after that, the championship game, something they did in 2009 when they won the Super Bowl. But their offensive game plan is different than in years past. This year, Drew Brees is on pace to have his fewest passing attempts of his career, based largely in part to the success of his running backs. Those guys, Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. In talking to his teammate, tackle Teron Armstead, he said, Drew Brees is the most underrated future Hall of Famer out there. He said elite doesn't even begin to describe him. And all you have to do is just watch Brees' very elaborate pregame warm-up. I've watched him in a couple of these games going through repetitive, very intricate exercises. And I finally was able to ask him what that's all about. And he said, what that's about is tricking your mind to let it know that it's ready and that you deserve to be successful based on the preparation that you've put in. And of course, as we talk to some of these other aging quarterbacks, I hate to use that number because I'm up there in age at my late 30s. At 38, I said, are you doing anything like the TB12 method, or even the younger guys like Kirk Cousins do the saliva testing? He says he's done it all, from cupping to pod therapy to the saliva testing to a superfood diet, whatever it takes to be in his best condition possible. But he really is playing youthful for a 38-year-old this season. Lindsay?
More from Metairie on the way. Jane, one-on-one with Drew Brees and the leader in the clubhouse for Offensive Rookie of the Year, Alvin Kamara. In the meantime, let's check in on the other clubhouse in this one, coming off a disappointing loss in Week 13, in which Atlanta's offense, rolling in Weeks 8 through 12, grinded to a stop against Minnesota. Just 273 total yards. That's just 20 more than Julio had by himself the previous week. Obviously, the Vikings defense deserves a lot of credit for that, but I'm sure there's some soul-searching taking place in Flowery Branch as well. That is where Tiffany Blackman joins us now. How do they get back on track, Tiffany?
Well, Lindsay, Julio was asked if he was frustrated with the offense, and he said frustrated is a negative word. I'm not a negative person. And he playfully told us all that he knows what the headlines would be had he used the word frustrated. What he would say, though, about Sunday's loss was this: 9 points. We're way better than 9 points. And he outlined what they need to do to get rolling again.
Just stay aggressive. Just move the ball around. Just get it in the playmakers' hands on the team offensively, and just go ahead and just we got to score points. Field goals are good, but touchdowns are better. We got to score touchdowns. We got to find ways to score touchdowns. We really just got to work on us right now, just trying to figure out ways for us to, just get grooving, making plays and scoring touchdowns.
Now, quarterback Matt Ryan, he came out and said that the defense put on a winning performance, but that the offense did not pull their weight in that loss on Sunday. They're obviously expecting a different outcome on Thursday, Lindsay. And Matt Ryan has had a pretty good career against the Saints. In 17 games, he has averaged close to 300 yards and has 30 touchdowns.
Saints and Falcons separated in the NFC South by 2 games with 2 head-to-head matchups left on the schedule. For more on what to expect, let's send it over to Dan and the guys.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram have posed matchup problems for just about everybody. Let's break down for a minute, Reg, what kind of problems they're going to pose for the Falcons.
Well, normally when you're talking about the New Orleans Saints and Who Dat Nation, it's normally Drew Brees in his arm throwing for 5,000 yards.
Airing it out.
But this year, it's totally different. Sean Payton has found a run game. Now you have Mark Ingram sitting up here running in between the tackles, led by what you need, Sean, the good offensive line. Larry Walford and the fullback, Zach Line.
See you, Max.
For the second consecutive week where Mark Ingram have had a run of 70-plus yards or more. And he sits up here and puts my main man, Mike Adams, in a spin cycle right here. He don't know where he is right here. But that's what you get when you get a run game going, and Mark Ingram is finishing it at the end. And now you got Alvin Kamara, who can do the run game, but his catching ability is what separates him when he runs a jailbreak screen, which everybody blocks for him, seems like, except Drew Brees right here. But when he gets the ball in his hand, his punt return mentality, he can make a short catch, become a big game. I'm sure Sean Payton told him stop jumping on guys like that. But that's one thing you get with these New Orleans Saints. They got playoff football mentality where it's football time, playoff time. You have to be able to run the ball, and they can do that.
The New Orleans Times-Picayune is trying to come up with a nickname for Kamara and Ingram. So they had a little poll in the newspaper. These are the leading 4 vote getters. Boom and Zoom, Crescent City Combo, Hustle and Muscle. I like that.
Ooh, I like
Hustle and Muscle.
How about just Two Dat?
Two Dat?
Two Dat.
You like that?
That's
Does
clean.
that work for you?
I like the hustle and muscle.
I like hustle and muscle.
That's my favorite too. The Falcons defense gave up 14 points to the Vikings, but it could have been a lot worse, especially if they were playing against a guy like Drew Brees. Show me what they have to worry about here now.
Yeah, I mean, a little role reversals. Reggie's talking run game. I'm talking about the passing game. I don't know what's going on here on Tuesday here on Total Access, but here's what I saw when I watched the film. Yes, the 2 touchdowns Case came through, but points on the board is what they left. They're faking the ghost screen right here to Latavius Murray. Look at the corners peeking in the backfield. They see this receiver kind of slow down. They think it's ghost screen. They let Adam Thielen run right through their defense. Keanu Neal, he's hustling over there because he thought for sure that was a deep ball going over their head. And it wasn't just one play, Reg.
What you got?
Watch Case Keenum on play action right here. Look at all these defenders. What are they so concerned about? They're trying to stop the run. They want to be aggressive. Well, it draws them all in. And look at my man Robert Alford over here.
Is he
He's
open?
saying, hey, you got Thielen.
Over there.
He's trying to pass him off. This is cover 3 right here. And nobody's covered Thielen. Now, Case Keenum didn't see it. Throws the check down right here. But I know who did see that. I know Sean Payton is seeing that while he's watching film. And now you've got the run game that Reggie was just talking about with the 1-2 punch with hustle and muscle. And now you've got Sean Payton who loves to attack defenses. He's looking at these coverages saying, oh, hey, Drew, I think we got a couple of route combinations. We're going to hit those passes. We're going to score more than 14 points. So that's what Atlanta's got to work on, that coverage. They got to make sure they're sound. They don't want to get into a shootout now with the Saints.
The Saints offense, 6.4 yards per play, number 1 in the NFL. Alvin Kamara, every time he touches the ball, 8.4 yards per touch. And I love the fact that Sean's just already gone ahead and said hustle and muscle is going to be the nickname.
That's
your vote?
I like it.
All right.
I think we should do it. And it's not because you're busting out of your suit.
What do you mean? My vote's hustle and muscle.
Holy catfish, what a play!
Hey, believe on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Russell Wilson enjoying as good a season as anyone in the NFL with us now on behalf of the Microsoft's Create Change program, which we will get to in just a bit. First, though, that game Sunday, was that your best game of the year?
The best game's always the last one. You always want the last one to be your best one as long as you win. So that's the only thing I'm focused on is making sure that we're doing everything we can to win. It's December. It's time to go win, and it's time to go find a way.
You've seen the tape. Was the lateral to Mike Davis backward?
All I know is a pretty cool play. On film it looks backwards because I keep moving forward. I fall forward, but I don't know. I was never good at physics.
Is it true that Pete Carroll put in a call to Neil deGrasse Tyson to try and help prove that it was in fact backwards?
Pete. It probably is true. I don't know. I'm sure he did call Neil.
Oh, man. How does one's body feel the day after a game in which one has accounted for 82 to 83% of his team's yards? Because you've done that every single game this year.
Well, it's a National Football League. It's always your body's always kind of beat up. You never really feel good till about Thursday, And so, but I get tons of treatment. I'm constantly swimming. I get tons of work, my trainer and stuff like that, and also my PT Janet. So I'm always kind of making sure my body's good to go.
I know that you guys have heard the people on the outside who have said of the injuries that all of this stuff is going to catch up to you at some point. Do you tune that out, or do you guys internalize it and use it as fuel? Because it feels like it's the latter for your particular team.
Well, that's a great question, Linz. This year has been really tough. I mean, we've lost one of our best players, one of the best players in the National Football League in Cam Chancellor, one of the best players in the National Football League in Richard Sherman, one of the best players in the National Football League in Cliff Averill, and there's more to go, and so not more to go, but more that has happened. And so when you think about that, and you think about losing those core players and some of the best players in the National Football League, we've still found a way to overcome, and that's been amazing for us, and I think that we've continued to battle and make things happen. And it's been really, really special season. We're right in the thick of it all. We're 8-4, and we have a tough challenge ahead of us. We're about to go to Jacksonville, which is never easy to play against those guys. They're a really good team this year, and so it's going to be a challenge. But we're embracing the challenge. We have our heads down and just continue to work and continue to progress.
The Microsoft Surface Create Change program, what is it?
Well, actually, I'm glad that we get to talk about this, because it's probably the most important thing that I get to deal with every week, honestly. Every week I get to go to Seattle Children's Hospital, and I've been fortunate, I'm one of 32 men in the world that get to do what I get to do. And, honestly, to be able to go to Seattle Children's and see these kids and to experience these kids, and, every room you go to is different. You never know what you're going to get. Every room's, sometimes they have tons of faith, sometimes they have no faith at all. Sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're sad, sometimes they may be on a deathbed. And the reality is, with what we're doing with Why Not You Foundation, which is my foundation, partnering up with Microsoft, it's been an amazing process. And to be able to partner up with them to create change, it's been really, really cool just to be able to stay connected to these kids, and also the kids to stay connected to the doctors and through the rehab and to the nurses. And it's been an amazing process. I'm grateful that Microsoft has decided to partner with the Why Not You Foundation and with me and Seattle Children's, and it's been amazing, the overwhelming response. And I'm just grateful that Microsoft and Why Not You Foundation and Seattle Children's is at the forefront of change and creating change and these young kids.
I love the passion. Also loved the velvet tuxedo after the game on Sunday. Did you go anywhere afterward? That couldn't possibly have just been for that.
Well, I took my lovely wife to dinner, and I took a whole bunch of friends and family and people visiting to dinner. So we always go to this hot spot here in Seattle, Met Grills. It's always fun, but it's Sunday Night Football. It's time to dress up and get ready to play.
Very prime time of you. How much thought goes into your game day outfit during the week? Is that a thing?
Yeah, there's a little bit of thought into it, I guess. I usually don't think about it till Friday. So it's kind of a spur of the moment type thing. But, I like to say that you always want to dress for the job you want, and, I'm grateful that I have the job that I have. But, I think that for me, it's, you got to dress up and think about going to business. It's one of those things that you get to play, on Sunday Night Football. It's a good thing.
Look good, feel good, play good. You're doing it all. Thank you so much for your time, Russell.
Thank you guys for having me. It's always a pleasure. And
Rappaport, who has reported that Shazier has some movement in his lower extremities. Meanwhile, Shazier's teammate Juju Smith-Schuster is facing a suspension for his actions in last night's game against the Bengals. Suspended 1 game for this hit and celebration afterward, which the league called dangerous and unsportsmanlike. Also suspended, Bengals safety George Iloka, who hit Antonio Brown on that same drive as he caught a touchdown pass. The league called this play a flagrant hit and an egregious violation. Another suspension, which came down yesterday, but which we learned today will stand. Rob Gronkowski's 1-game punishment for this late hit on Tre'Davious White. His appeal denied today by arbitrator Derek Brooks. So the Giants have the Cowboys on Sunday, and guess who's going to be back under center for New York? Mike Garafolo reporting today that Eli Manning will once again be their starting quarterback after being benched last week for Geno Smith.
Can I get some time on the clock, please? We're going to attack some of the biggest games of the weekend, starting with the Cowboys and the Giants. Have the boys found their groove, or are the Giants going to have momentum on their side because Eli's back under center?
Yeah, they're going to have momentum right up until kickoff, probably. And then,
that's your team.
I know, but still, I love that Eli's back. I think the place is going to be rocking. The fans are going to be excited to see 10 back out there. But for the Cowboys, they got back to what they do best. They started running the football. And when you let their offensive line take over the game, it's a totally different offense and a totally different team. And Alfred Morris, I mean, we saw him. He got better as the game went on. And I think that's what we're going to see again from Dallas.
I like what you said there. They're getting back to what they know best, and that's running the ball, take less pressure off of Dak. Listen, there's no Ezekiel Elliott, no home run hit, but you're still averaging about 5 yards a carry. I mean, I'll take that all day, any day.
Keep this in mind. Dak Prescott had his worst game of the season last year, Week 14, in New York. 3 sacks, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, Alfred Morris, by the way, his first 100-yard game since 2015, and that was against the Cowboys when he played for the Redskins.
Yep.
Eagles lose to Seattle, practicing all week in Los Angeles. They're at Angels Stadium. They've turned it into a football field, getting ready to take on the Rams. Who wins?
Listen, both of these offenses are tied for number 1 in the league. Stout defenses. Philadelphia Eagles come from Seattle and they come to L.A. They don't go back home. You got
Smart
cold
move.
weather against warm weather.
No time change.
No time change at all. Listen, right now it's a vacation for them. They are a vacation for those guys. Their feet are in the sand. They listen. It's set up
real
for
quick,
failure.
Kelly. I like the Eagles. I think Carson Wentz makes some of the throws that he missed, and I think Nelson Aguilar, he had a breakout game. He's going to have another big one.
All right, one more. Vikings rolling into Charlotte. Do they roll out with a victory? We'll start with you, Sean.
Yeah, I love their smothering defense, but how about Case Keenum and the protection he's getting? Only 6 sacks for Case Keenum. He's doing a great job throwing the ball down the field thanks to the run game.
Vikings defense, smothering. You saw what they did to Atlanta Falcons? Smothering.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I'm very much looking forward to seeing that. I can't wait to see if the Vikings can become the first team to actually play a Super Bowl in their home stadium.
It's got to happen.
You think it's going to happen?
It's got to at some point in time.
It's like
Why not?
one of these days. Why not this year? Thanks, fellas.
All right, a look now at the Pepsi Rookie of the Week nominees for Week 13. We've got Alvin Kamara, again, with his 166 scrimmage yards. Evan Ingram with 99 yards and a touchdown. Desmond King, who had 6 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 82 return yards. Tariq Cohen, who added a 61-yard punt return touchdown to 39 yards receiving, and Jamal Williams, who went for a $113 and a touchdown. You decide the winner. You decide it at NFL.com, where you vote. The winner will be announced Friday on NFL Total Access. Will it be Kamara for the 5th straight week? He's with Jane Slater in Metairie.
Alvin, you're on pace this season for 1,627 scrimmage yards. Some would argue if you looked at your stats at Tennessee, no one would see this coming. So what happened?
Just came in and tried to handle business, you know. It's just one of those things where, like, I've been put in good position and surrounded by good teammates, so it's easy to, you know, produce when you're in that situation.
Are you hearing from some of the Tennessee fans this season? Because I know on Twitter we've heard about it.
Yeah, of course, you know, I see it, but, you know, I think they're more happy for me now than, you know, the other stuff I get, so it's all good.
All right, so we've got to talk about some of your in-game swag. The grill. Where does the grill come from?
I mean, I just started doing it when I got to Tennessee. You know, it was just something I was like, you know what? I'm about to just wear the grills. You know, nobody said nothing. Everybody loved it, so I just kept with it.
Another fun fact. One of your family members, your uncle, I believe, produces Migos.
Yeah, the manager. Yeah. He's on a record label, so it's going to be fun getting back to Atlanta. You know, I'll just talk to those boys, like, today. Actually, they was texting me and was like, get ready, you know, so...
All right, now with that being said, why has he not helped you guys come up with the nickname? I've seen the Boom and Zoom. You guys come up with one for yourself? He's got to produce a hit for you guys, or?
Yeah, I don't know. He hasn't really talked about the nicknames. I might ask him for one.
I mean, he's come up with a couple of hits before.
Yeah, I know he has. Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Other teams have had more success, but no one had more.
For the Atlanta Falcons, man, and the city was electric. They were just waiting, anticipating a glimpse of a winner, and they were ready to support us 100% of the way, and they did.
You play for the Braves, you play for the Falcons. Jerry Glanville didn't really seem to fit the mold of what that team was. What was the relationship like with Jerry? Because he loved you guys.
Oh, Jerry was more than the mold for that team. Jerry Glanville was the ringleader. I mean, this is a man who left tickets for Elvis, for Pete's sake. This is a man that we had Fat Tuesdays on Thursdays. It was hilarious. We worked our butts off. We played hard. We partied hard. We lived good. We lived right. But, boy, we exhausted ourselves. Every bit of opportunity we had to have a good time, we did.
Jerry Glanville, part of it. Big boy, Jermaine Dupree. Chris Miller was the quarterback. Brett Favre, of course, was there for a year. What was your relationship like with Brett Favre? Did you have any idea he was going to be the Brett Favre that we knew?
Yes, we called him country time. I was prime, Andre Rison was showtime, and Brett was country. Brett Favre would roll out. He quarterbacked the practice squad, not the practice squad, the scout team. They called himself the mean machine. Brett Favre would roll out to the right and stop flat-footed and throw a dart 40 yards on a line. And we was like, oh, my God. Brett Favre used to tell Chris Miller, the starting quarterback, go out there and mess it up. I'll be in by halftime. That's why they got Brett out of there, because Brett was putting too much pressure on the starting quarterback, and we knew he had something special. He didn't really know what was going on at the quarterbacking position, but Brett had a cannon and he had attitude. I used to take Brett shopping in the hood, man, back in the day downtown in Atlanta.
How'd that go?
Oh, it went well. I picked out his whole wardrobe, needless to say.
You are remembered as much for your time there in Atlanta as you are for the times when you won Super Bowls with the Cowboys and with the 49ers. I think that says a lot about what the legacy is. In your words, what is the legacy of the too legit to quit 1991 Atlanta Falcons?
Fun, fanatical, exciting, exhilarating, attitude, swagger, before the word what swagger was even enunciated. We were all of that, man. We played the game we wanted to play unapologetically. We had a good time. When we would pick off a ball to clinch the win, we wasn't down in it. Baby, we was going to pitch that thing and try to house that thing. I mean, that's who we were. And Jerry Glanville was one of the best pilots of that whole team, man, because he was all of that. We exemplified his attitude, which was crazy.
This is the man that was swag before we even started talking about swag. Primetime Deion Sanders. True. The timeline, 1991 Atlanta Falcons. I can't wait to see it, Prime. I'm going to be watching, man.
Yeah. Hey, they better not turn the TV off, because the timeline is going to be actually better than the game. I promise you that. I promise you that. Take the batteries out of your remote control, because you're not going to want to turn the TV. I promise you.
After the break, a guy who Phillip Rivers on the ground. Alfred Morris makes the list. For the first time in a long time, Kenyon Drake, Jamal Williams there as well. Vote until Thursday on NFL.com/FedEx. Winner revealed on TAN Game after TNF. Speaking of TNF, Saints and Falcons coming up on Thursday Night Football, 8 Eastern on NFL Network, NBC, and streaming on Amazon Prime Video. But for right now, Drew Brees chatting with our Jane Slater.
You and Sean Payton are the real constants around here since that last Super Bowl push. What sort of relationship do you guys now have after all of these years, and what sort of relationship did you guys have in this offseason coming off 3 straight losing ones?
Yeah, well, we've got a great relationship. I guess we can almost finish each other's sentences. We've had so much time together, and we can reference so many things from the past. There might be something that pops up on film, or something that happens in practice, or something as we're anticipating playing, whoever the opponent is that week, where we can just reference, hey, remember back in 2008 when we faced that defense, very similar, whatever it might be. And we can immediately go back to that moment and we're on the same page. And there's so much communication between us throughout the week, too, that by the time game time rolls around, I pretty much know the play before it comes out of his mouth, just because we've talked about it so much. We've talked about the situation.
When you look at your stats this year, you're on pace to have your fewest passing attempts of your career. Mm-hmm. Who was it that sat down and said, we gotta alter the game a little bit? We've got this guy Alvin Kamara here, this guy Mark Ingram. Was that something you guys discussed, that this is a way to really make this offense go?
Well, you wait and see. As you get into the season, you always have things that you're emphasizing or things that you might want to hang your hat on, but then you have to go out and execute those things, And so, did we make a concerted effort towards the run game? Yeah, absolutely. Maybe even more so than years past, just understanding that, our best seasons here, we've had the most balance, And so I think this is by far the most balanced we've had, as an offense. And obviously that's in big part because of the runners that we have, but it's even bigger part because of the O-line, the way that they're playing and the way that they're able to balance, all that's required of them.
Are they getting enough respect this season when you look at all the injuries, that O-line?
The O-line's done tremendous. And like you said, we've had guys, flip-flopping from guard to tackle to back to guard and mid-flow, mid-game, which is crazy, but they've executed very well. They've done a great job.
A world-renowned physicist says this Russell Wilson lateral will include mine or Helly's because our seasons are over-eliminated last week. Definitely not elite. But you still could be. See if you make the cut of Elite Performers next Tuesday right here on Total Access and at NFL.com/Elite Performers.
Time to take a look at the top 10 plays of Week 13, as always, starting with number 10. How about this play from Alec Ogletree?
Oski.
Pure athleticism.
Now, Dan.
More Ogletree, please.
Dan, did he hurt his shoulder by doing that right there?
Oh, I hope not.
You
It looks like it hurt. I don't know why people do that. Number 9, Redskins Cowboys. Dak to Dez.
He caught it. Dez? I guess I made you mad.
Passes Bob Hayes to become the Cowboys franchise leader in touchdown catches.
Good job, Dez.
They need more of it.
Number 8
Made
from
him
the
mad. Do it again.
Patriots-Bills game. Dion Lewis. You do not want to be stiff-armed by Dion Lewis.
It's strong.
Jordan Poyer.
It's strong.
Look at this.
Strong.
It's
Too high.
disrespectful.
A little too high.
Sit down. Number 7, Bucks Packers. Jameis strip sack here by Kenny Clark, recovered by Dean Lowry, returned 62 yards for the touchdown, and wait for it because he is going up into the stands.
No, he's not.
Sure he
Oh my
is.
gosh, look at that.
Hey, Dan, he's tasting the W.
He's tasting
No,
the W.
Let's put that to bed.
I
No
was
more of
trying to
that.
drink a beer.
No more of that.
Tasting the end zone. Shaq Thompson, you don't want none of that.
Hey, he runs like a big man.
Yeah, he's got a grill on his back.
Yeah, he do.
Okay, number 5, Colts Jags. Marquise Lee, how about that catch?
Wow.
I'll let Reggie do this.
Left-handed?
Left hand, mama. That's hard to do. Anything left-handed when you're right-handed.
Enter the dragon, Marquise Lee.
Number 4,
I
Aaron
can hardly hold my
Jones.
scripts in my left hand.
Game-winning touchdown run from 20 yards out. He dives in. His only carry of the game, but he certainly made it count.
That's insane. Only 1 carry.
Highlight
Touchdown.
reel.
Yeah, right? Number 3, Geno. Evan Ingram's one-handed catch.
But see, that's a lot easier with the right hand. But still, great catch. I like it.
He cradled that thing. He's trying to make up for those drops last week.
Hey, Eli's going to throw it this week.
All right, here's Russell. Here's this pitch play we've been talking about. Was it or was it not? With the naked eye, it does not look like a forward lateral, but when you watch the replay and judge by the hash marks, it did seem like a forward lateral.
A Galilean transformation, according to Neil
Rules
deGrasse
don't apply
Tyson.
up there in Seattle, as we all remember from the simultaneous catch.
Number 1, Tariq Cohen. He covers just about every square inch of this field on this return.
He ran 127 yards to get a 61-yard touchdown. I don't know.
Taking the long road.
Yeah, some people can do it, Sean.
I'd just like to clarify one thing before we go. I'm in 3 fantasy football leagues, and I'm still alive in 1.
Not in ours.
I'm alive
and in
in
fact,
one.
you might have been in last.
1.
The Manhattan
Business.
What's the name of your league?
333.
Welcome to NFL Power Rankings. We've got a slot at the top, but should the former number 1 Eagles have fallen even further than 1 spot? Find out right now on NFL Power Rankings. Welcome into NFL Power Rankings. It's the Tuesday table for us right now. I'm Colleen Wolfe. MJD is with us, as always, and the mastermind behind